A number of these causes are small. We've got a question from that part of the world. Texted in this morning, a question from a small 4-person nonprofit. It says, great ideas for the big, but what about small nonprofits, those with fewer than 4 people? What can we do? What lessons do you have for us? Who'd like to take that?
If it was a text message, and does this mean I have to keep it to 140 characters with my answer? I think one of the things we're saying, Causes is actually an independent third-party. Facebook Causes that an independent third party, but someone who we work with, and we've seen incredible success with their use of our platform. I think that we need to think of internet advocacy and these things in kind of a whole picture. So for a lot of people, the affiliation is a big step for them and something they're proud of, and maybe not donations. And one of the things I spoke about was lowering the barriers of participation, right? And so the more people who can participate, those of you who participated in politics or philanthropy know, the more people you get in the door means the more potential donors you have, which means the more people will donate, and it's a funnel, because the more that's required, the less people will do. But the more people you have in the door, it means the bigger numbers. So I think that a lot of people will say, well, they're just clicking to say that they're affiliated with it. But as Joe Trippi once said, if you have 50,000 people who are affiliated with your cause, you'd be thrilled as an organizer to have someone with 50,000 bumper stickers out there. You're spreading awareness. And I think also we need to focus on the fact, and I know we talked about this a little bit last night when we were discussing the panel, that online also influences offline. So people may donate offline, or they may not donate through causes, but everyone knows how to get to the American Cancer Society website by using Google. These are no longer barriers. But I think that the things that work are, particularly maybe even for smaller ones, is empowering these kind of individual groups and the people that their issue affects, and the people who can advocate for you on that. And that's something that an organization of 1 to 1,000 can do just as easily, and kind of empowering those people.
I think the other piece to that is, again, it comes back to empowering your volunteers and trusting your volunteers, which can be a very scary thing. It's a scary thing for our organization as we went through that transition, that you're let your volunteers, downloading your logo to put it on a piece that they're creating to share with friends and family, letting your volunteers walk into a member of Congress's office without a staff person there and share the views of your organization. But some of the things, especially for smaller groups, is using some of these tools, using personal websites and Facebook pages and others that volunteers can manage, volunteers can run, and then go trusting them to do it. You don't want to give them some resources and hold them back. Give them those resources and then trust them to go out and represent your organization and represent your views. I think that not only helps increase your influence out there, but again, the belief in peer-to-peer is really one of the key ways to spur activation. It helps build your list as well.
And I think social media, too, is actually a boon to smaller organizations, to the long tail, the proverbial long tail, like the 74,500 causes that won't have 10,000 members or more. Because again, social media is about personal communication as opposed to mass communication through email lists. And if you can seed those key influencers who are truly 1, 2, 3, 4, start small. Seed those key influencers who can get the message out through their Facebook profiles, who can Twitter it, who can spread the word that way. You can grow something really from the ground up. There really isn't, the tools are out there now for even the smallest person, even the smallest organization, to be able to grow something, maybe not quite as big as the American Cancer Society, but be more influential and more visible than they would have been in the past.
You mean like my cause, the I Love Pineapples?
My first mentor in politics, Lee Atwater, used to talk about special interests and people and all the variety of things long before the long tail came around. And he said that for everything, there's a group out there. There are a lot of groups, and some of them are very small and now newly empowered. Was there a follow-up from there?
Okay. I just wanted to make a comment on the same point. I actually think technology, in particular the internet, can be a great leveler for the playing field. And when you think of an organization scale, you can't just think of it in terms of the employees that work for you, but the potential constituency out there that can be mobilized and can work for you in a virtual fashion. we've had the pleasure of working with a very small health disease group called the Trisomy 18 Foundation over the last couple of years. The organization came to us, the executive director had an annual operating budget of $50,000 and a tiny staff. I think it was just her and a couple of other people. Using the internet and using technology, they've grown to a $250,000 organization in 2 years, of which 90% of their revenue is now generated online. They are a new breed of organization that built from the ground up as technology enabled. And they have 7 staff today, which isn't an enormous staff, but they have a network of volunteers. Trisomy 18 is a rare birth defect that unfortunately results generally in fatalities. But they started by saying, how do we use the web as a mission tool first and foremost to provide counseling and support to families going through these painful transitions? And frankly, they've been very strategic in terms of how they offer services and communicate to these families. As a result of providing these valuable services online, they created a ton of goodwill amongst their constituencies, so that when they started to activate those people in terms of not just sending them appeals, but giving them tools to fundraise and to organize local events, golf tournaments, tribute sites, and so forth, it had this magical effect where they were able to turn this passion and this goodwill they generated into philanthropy. And while most of the revenue comes in online today, they're now starting a major gift effort where a lot of the people who can give major gifts and are typically giving them offline were originated through this online outreach effort. So again, my key point is that I think small organizations, if they think strategically, have an enormous opportunity to level the playing field.